Names off. Arthur Hill.
Good.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning. Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Heather Hollis. Martha Hicks. Here. Clifford Crenshaw.
Sir.
Melissa Thomas. Roger Hodges.
Here.
Rebecca Sanders. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do, a matter just came up. We need to have you to step outside with the bailiff, and we'll call you back and make sure that you have your badges on. Shouldn't take that long. Okay, everyone, please stand. Okay, you can follow the bailiff. You may be seated. Yeah, y'all can sit anywhere in the jury box. Yeah, just y'all can sit anywhere in the. You may be seated. County Court Law number 2 is back in session and calls number M333019. Excuse me, yeah, calls number M333019. The case is styled State of Texas versus Elgin Jenkins Jr. Let the record reflect that Mr. Jenkins is present in court with his attorney, Attorney Brandon Monk. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant District Attorney, Attorney Erica Porter, and Attorney Andrew Pugh. Let the record also reflect that the jury is now present and seated in the courtroom. State, are you ready?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Defense, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Porter, you're going to present the information, and we need to have Mr. Jenkins stand. You may proceed.
In the name and by authority of the state of Texas, comes now the undersigned assistant criminal district attorney of Jefferson County, Texas, on behalf of the state of Texas, and presents an end to the county court at law of Jefferson County, Texas, that in Jefferson County, Texas, Elgin Jenkins Jr., hereafter styled defendant, heretofore on or about July 21st, 2022, did then and there unlawfully and recklessly engage in conduct that placed Ricky Lane, hereafter styled the complainant, in imminent danger of serious bodily injury, namely pointing a gun at complainant, against the peace and dignity of the state.
Mr. Jenkins, how did you plead?
I'm guilty.
Not guilty?
Yes.
Okay, you may be seated. Ms. Porter, would you like to have an opening statement?
State, please.
You may proceed.
Good evening, Judy. It's been a few weeks since you last saw me. And I appreciate your consideration in coming back to serve on this jury. I want to refresh your minds a little bit. This case involves deadly conduct. You can look at the screens. It's going to be found in the Texas Penal Code, statute 22.05. We're going to go through what the state has to prove, okay? A person commits an offense if the person recklessly engages in conduct that places another in imminent danger of serious bodily injury. And remember, recklessness and danger are presumed if the actor knowingly pointed a firearm at or in the direction of another. Now, this is irregardless of the fact that the actor knew if it was working or if it was loaded, okay? So the state believes, what do we believe we're going to show? The defendant, Elgin Jenkins, on or about July 21st, 2022, in Jefferson County, Texas, did recklessly engage in conduct that placed Ricky Lane, who is the complainant, in imminent danger of serious bodily injury by pointing a firearm at Ricky Lane. I'm gonna wait for it to catch up. Okay. Of course, you're gonna hear from us today. If you remember doing for I said, what do y'all want me to, what do y'all want to see from me, evidence-wise? Some people said they wanted to see the complaining witness, the person that was the victim. Some people wanted if there was DNA or something to show. I do have the complaining witness. He's here. His name is Ricky Lane. We anticipate him getting on that stand and testifying that based on July 21st, 2022, he was headed, he owns a bait shop called Luck in the Bucket. And he was headed to get some bait that morning with his son, Joel Bronson. And Joel Bronson is going to be here as well. And he's going to testify that when he was leaving, he was going on state property. There's a street right in front of his property. And the street actually goes in front of his home as well as his defendant's home. When he's on that street, another customer comes down that street, he pulls over. And he's going to also testify that that's when the defendant came out, Elgin Jenkins, and pointed a gun. You're going to hear from the victim, the complaining witness, who we refer to as the victim, his son, as well as 2 officers. There were 2 officers that responded, Officer Broussard and Officer Bush. Both of those officers are here, and they're gonna testify too, as to what transpired and what they saw on that day. Now, after you hear all this evidence, everything that we have to present, I'm gonna get back up here, and I'm gonna request that you find the defendant guilty of deadly conduct. Thank you.
Mr. Monk?
Yes, ma'am. Proceed.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for showing back up. This is very important. I think that one of the things that ultimately y'all need to know as you begin to consider this case is that in terms of the facts themselves, y'all really truly are the ones that are going to hear that stuff in this docket. There's not going to be any else that has that role. It's an extremely important role. I tell you that so that as you're listening to the trial, that you can tune yourself into the specific details of this incident, because that's going to be where you find us defending this case. It's in the specifics. The other thing I'm going to tell you is that eventually, whenever you get this case at the end and it's time to make a decision, you're going to get a set of instructions. Those set of instructions come from the judge, and they come from the court, and they come from some committees that deliberate about how those instructions should look, but they don't necessarily come from us. Okay, they come from what others think is the best. So to the extent that that stuff is confusing, please don't hold it against myself or my client, because sometimes that can be some confusing language to deal with. But in addition to the language about deadly conduct in the offense, you're going to get some instructions, we think, at the end of the day, that deal with self-defense. And that is going to be the basis of what we ask you to consider whenever we ask you to acquit Mr. Jenkins of this offense that he's been accused of. And the basis for that is that this incident, the evidence will show, as these witnesses testify, Mr. Jenkins will testify himself. I think that the evidence is going to show that this didn't actually happen where Ricky Lane claims that it happens. He claims that it happens at this Luck in the Bucket location. Well, Luck in the Bucket is a fenced-in location, okay? And it doesn't happen within the fence. We know that for sure. You're going to be asked to consider where Ricky Lane was whenever he calls 911. And my client also calls 911. And I think you're going to get to hear both of those calls, and you're going to get to consider that the first few words out of Mr. Jenkins' mouth is that he was defending himself. That he was defending himself because Ricky Lane was over on his property, and he had his truck, and he was running his truck over there on Mr. Jenkins' land. A few comments about the scene, and you're going to get some evidence about this in the case too, I think. But this is not a usual property to highway situation. This is a very confusing deal, because at one point, I think this is going to show, TxDOT came through there, and they took some land, they pushed people back, and their right of way, that where they intended to build a highway, has never actually come to fruition yet. We haven't actually had the addition to 365 built, although they had taken the land and they planned to do that. They ran into some difficulties, and as a result of that, there is about an 80-foot or so easement that is between my client's property and the highway itself, Highway 365. So when we're talking about, well, we're driving down the right of way, driving down the street, not exactly, because Mr. Jenkins' lot that he owns butts up right against Ricky Lane's lot, and they both have this extended easement out in front of their property. So that's something very important to keep in mind. The other thing that's important to keep in mind is the 2 different addresses you'll hear about. 344 Highway 365, 410 Highway 365. 410 Highway 365 is Elgin Jenkins' property, where he operates Lumberland Wood Camp. That's his registered business with Jefferson County. The 344 location is the Ricky Lane location. So the other thing I think you should know is that, what Mr. Jenkins, he has a camp where he wants to bring kids out and have experiences on that land working with wood. And associated with that, he'll sometimes get scraps of wood that are brought over to his property, and he culls through those scraps, and then he has camps where he has kids come out to the property and they'll work with this wood. And that's what he intends to do with his land out there that he inherited, his family land. The history between the parties, Ricky Lane and Eldon Jenkins, has meant that he has not really been able to do that. There's been enough disruption at his property. Mr. Jenkins has not been able to really use his land for what he wanted to use it for. And you're going to hear about some of these problems that have happened out there, and what I think will be information about numerous calls where, Ricky Lane's got a gun on his hip, where Ricky Lane has made some threats, where there were some past incidents where Joel Bronson, the passenger in the vehicle, had pulled a gun on Elgin Jenkins. And so those things are going to be important for you to consider when you consider Mr. Jenkins' state of mind as he talks to you about exactly what's happened in all of this. So as we move forward with the trial, you're going to hear from several witnesses. You'll hear from law enforcement. You'll hear from Mr. Jenkins. I'm going to try to bring you Anthony Leger with South Tech Surveyors to come and identify the location of the land, so you know exactly where we are, and we're within the specific or precise realm of the surveying world whenever we make these kinds of decisions. And so those are the things that we think are important. We also ask you to pay close mind to the investigation itself. Was it thorough? Did they actually look into Mr. Jenkins' side of this? Or did they just take one side of it, Ricky Lane's side, and jump to a conclusion where if they investigated a little bit further, we might not even be here at all? Thank y'all very much for your attention. I appreciate y'all as we move forward with the trial.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Porter, you have any witnesses?
We do. The state's gonna ask for a brief recess, not
Okay.
reset, a brief recess.
Okay,
We're waiting for them. Done, so.
okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to please follow the bailiff into the hallway. Everyone, please stand. Will be in recess. Mr. Okay. We can get the jury in. Everyone, please stand while the jury enters the courtroom. You may be seated. Let the record reflect that the court is back in session and calls number M333019. And the case is styled the state of Texas versus Elgin Jenkins Jr. Let the record also reflect that Mr. Jenkins is present in court with his attorney, Attorney Brandon Mudd. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant District Attorneys, Attorney Erica Porter, and Attorney Andrew Hubel. State, are you ready?
State's ready.
Defense, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. State, you may proceed.
State's gonna call Ricky Lane.
Mr. Lane, okay.
This time we did both the rule.
Okay, do we have any witnesses in the courtroom? Any witnesses in the courtroom for the state or the defense?
No.
And the defense?
Yes, one for us, Your Honor.
Okay, she can have her sit out then.
You have to wait outside.
And let me do this here. She can come forward. I'll just give her the instructions on the rule. Would you come forward? I'm gonna wait till the other witness comes in too. Elaine, would you come forward? And I'm gonna swear both of y'all in at the same time. Yeah, just come on up. Now, Mr. Lane, ma'am, what's your name?
Darlene Price Bailey.
Ms. Bailey?
Price
Okay, Mr.
Bailey.
Lane and Ms. Price Bailey, would y'all please raise your right hand? Do y'all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may put your hand down. Now, the witnesses, the rule has been invoked. You are ordered to leave. Well, Mr. Lane, you're gonna stay in the courtroom, but Ms. Price Bailey, you'll be ordered to leave the courtroom and do not re-enter unless instructed to do so by the bailiff or me. And this is both of you. You are not to discuss this case or your testimony with other witnesses or anyone else except the attorneys. You are not to read any report or comment on the testimony or evidence in the case. Any witness violating this rule or this instruction is subject to being held in contempt of court. Okay? So at this time, Mr. Lane, you can take the witness stand, and Ms. Price Bailey, you can exit the courtroom. And then when they're ready for you to testify, they'll ask you to come in.
Thank you.
And also do not look at any cases or anything on YouTube or any of that stuff, okay? State, you may proceed.
Thank you.
Ms. Woodard, would you adjust the microphone? Mr. Lane, you can move the chair up if you need to move up and talk into the mic.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Porter, you may proceed.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Alan Lane.
And where do you reside, Mr. Lane?
344 West Highway 365.
And where is that located?
Portland.
And is that in Jefferson County?
Yeah,
Okay, and who lives with you at that residence?
my wife and two sons.
And what do you do for a living?
Run a bait shop. Sell a lot of bait.
What's the name of that shop?
Luck in a bucket bait shop.
How long have you been running that bait shop?
14, 15 years old.
Is the bait shop on the same property where your home is located?
Yes, man.
And how long have you lived at your current address? How long have you lived at your current address?
25 years. Been a while.
Okay.
25 years.
So I'm gonna take you back to July the 21st, 2022, around 9:30 a.m. Where were you?
In my driveway with the truck.
Okay, your driveway, your driveway would it be right in front of your home? Is it circular or just a straight driveway?
Straight drive, but it goes in one end and out the other.
Okay, so you were in your truck, in your driveway. Who was with you?
Me and myself.
And what is your son's name?
Joel Johnson.
And what kind of vehicle? You said it was a truck. What kind of truck was it?
My truck,
Mhm.
Dodge.
And were you pulling anything or was it just the truck? And where were you headed?
And the work.
And where's work?
I catch bait.
So where do you catch it so the jury can understand? Where do you catch your bait at?
The bean pass or Pleasure Island, I'll wherever the bait's at the month.
Okay, and what do you do with the bait once you catch it?
So at the shop.
Okay, so were you going to catch bait to go back to your home to sell it?
Yes, man.
Okay, so what happened that prevented you from going to get bait that morning?
Okay, well, I'm trying to leave my house and I'm facing the wrong way in my driveway because that's the way my truck is normally parked. So I tried to turn around in my driveway. There's not enough room in the driveway. So I went out the front gate, which is right heading the wrong way out my driveway. So I tried to turn the truck to the right, and go around, and at that moment, Mr. Jenkins run out in front of me and pointed a gun at me.
Okay, so at any time when you were going out of your driveway, what property, were you on your property or were you on state property at any
As
time?
soon as I leave my gate, I'm on state line.
Okay, and at any time did you get on Mr. Jenkins' land that day?
No,
All right, so you said Mr. Jenkins came out in front of you.
right,
Okay, were you in your vehicle when he came out in front of you?
yeah,
Was he in a vehicle when he came out in front of you?
no,
What did he have with him? Was there anything with him, any animals or anything when he came out in front of you?
no,
Did you see any animals at the time when he came out in front of you? Did he have anything with him when he got in front of your vehicle? Did he have any,
His hand,
a pistol? What kind of pistol did he have with him?
the small revolver,
And where did he point the pistol at you?
yes, man.
Okay, and was he in front of your vehicle or the side of your vehicle or right in front of?
Right in front of my vehicle.
Okay, and was he in between your son and yourself or was he pointed straight at you?
I pointed at me.
Okay, so what did you think when that happened?
I was in fear for my life, about to die.
So what happened after that?
I put it in reverse and tried to back away from the man. And about that time, he put his gun down. I put it back forward because I've got a boat behind me and I'm about to jackknife my boat. So I put it back forward and turned left to miss him.
Okay, and did he say anything to you that day, that morning?
I couldn't hear if he did.
You have a hard hearing problem? Okay. All right, did you have your windows up or were they down? Did you say anything to Mr. Jenkins that morning?
No.
All right, and when you backed up, did you try to call 911 or anything?
At that time, I was trying to get the phone and dial 911 and I handed it across to my son instead and put it in reverse when I seen the gun go down.
Okay. Do you see Mr. Jenkins in court today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could you point to Mr. Jenkins and identify him based on an item of clothing? Say something that he's wearing.
Gentleman with black tie and a gray suit.
but let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect. That the
Okay, you
witness
said
has
you call-
identified the, defendant.
And you said you called 911, did you not?
Right.
And once you called 911, did you ask for assistance to come back, to come help you, or did the phone hang up at all, or what?
I told them we needed an officer. I was there in the back of my truck.
And was your son with you in the vehicle the entire time, or did he get out at all?
No, he didn't do it.
This is what, I'm getting close. Permission to approach, Your Honor.
You may approach.
I'm showing you what has been marked as Exhibit A, it's the 911 call. Do you recognize this?
No.
Well, it's a 911 call. Would you be able to recognize the voices that are on this recording?
Sure.
Okay, and did you tamper with this in any way? Do you think this is a direct copy of the original 911 call?
I've never seen it before, so I wouldn't know.
Okay, but you know that you hadn't tampered with it in any way?
Right.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm gonna ask for this to be a minute. I'll put it in a minute, I'm gonna show it to
Just for identification, this is only his call?
only his call.
Okay, no objection, Your Honor.
Okay, no objections. States exhibit number 1 will be admitted. You would like to publish it to the
Correct.
jury? Yes, you may.
Your Honor, we're gonna start it from the beginning. There we go.
Yeah, you just don't have one color at all. It was pointed out. So that it is not yell at me. That's. Not to be pointed out at you. Thank you.
Now, you said you were on state land when this ordeal took place.
Right.
Okay, is the state property a driveway or a bypass? Explain for the jury exactly the state land you're talking about.
So the part of the land I was on was not part of the driveway when it pointed to get at me, but my driveway goes through the state land because the state bought the land up front and had me move to the land in the back that I bought from Mr. Jenkins.
Okay,
So I had
so,
to build that driveway to go through there.
so when you leave your home, you have to get on state land to get to a major road?
No,
Okay, so explain.
normally I would go out the back drive, but I was facing the wrong way, there's too many cars in my driveway to go out the back way like we normally do.
Mhm.
So I went out the gate to turn around and go back through, because that entrance of the highway is not wide enough for two cars.
Okay, and when you say you went in another direction, is that other direction still state property or is that your property?
To the state property.
So where does Mr. Jenkins' property start?
It would be over 100 feet from my driveway.
Okay, and are you under the, okay, so you know where your property line stops and starts?
Yeah.
Okay, and you know where Mr. Jenkins' property line stops and starts?
Yes, ma'am.
When you turned around, was it on state property?
Yeah.
Okay, at any time when you were driving that day, did you touch Mr. Jenkins' property?
No, ma'am.
So what made Mr. Jenkins run in front of your vehicle?
You tell me that, I'm not sure.
Was it a feud that you've been having with Mr. Jenkins?
We've been arguing for years
And is it over state property or your property?
over my property. He sold me.
Okay, and when you say argue for years, at this time, on that day, when Mr. Jenkins pulled a gun out at you, you were fearful for your life.
Please, ma'am.
Okay, and you never tried to hit a dog or anything belonging to Mr. Jenkins?
Didn't see it,
So after 911 was called, did any officers come out and talk to you?
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Bad man, older gray haired gentleman,
Did Mr. Broussard?
Broussard.
And did you also talk to Miss Bush, Officer Bush?
I didn't get a chance to talk to her.
Did you fill out statements on that day? Did you fill out witness statements on that day? And did your son as well?
Yeah,
I'm gonna pass the witness.
Mr. Monk, the witness is yours.
Mr. Wayne,
I
did you hang up on 911?
handed the phone toward my son.
Did you hang up on him?
Possibly got hang up.
Why would you hang up on him?
Trying to get away from Mr. Jenkins to the point that
Had they just asked you where you were?
got
Had they just asked you where you were
at what point?
at the time that you hung up on them? Had they just asked you where you were?
Not that I can remember now.
Did they ask you where you were whenever you got back on the call with them?
When I got back to my house in Carlton, yeah.
Back from where you had been over towards Mr. Jenkins' land, correct?
Where I had been on state land, yeah.
You had been towards Mr. Jenkins' property boundary, hadn't you?
Yeah, his land is toward the right, yes.
And you were headed in that direction, weren't you?
Yes.
And you were actually, in terms of where you were off of the boundary of your property, weren't you?
No, sir.
Were you on 344 Highway 365 at the time that this incident occurred?
No,
Not at all.
no.
And that's your property, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
So you weren't on your property.
No, I was on state land.
You were off of 344 Highway 365 at the time this happened.
Yes, sir.
Now, at the time you hang up on 911, you're driving, aren't you?
Well, yeah.
And there's some time that passes on that call that we just saw where you're not talking to anybody And you're making this move with your vehicle that you described to the jury, is that correct?
Right.
Describe what you do. I think you say you put the vehicle in reverse, is that right?
At first,
You didn't have the boat on it at the time that you're over there, do you?
yes, I did.
So don't you go back over onto your land and hook that boat up in the driveway?
No, sir.
Isn't that caught on video that you go and hook that boat back on the driveway in your place?
No, sir.
Whenever you talk to the police back over there on your land, which direction is your vehicle pointed towards?
That would be east
East back towards Riley Street,
or southeast. Right. Yes, sir.
back towards Riley Street.
Right.
And Riley, you testified, that's usually the way that you go out is back
Yes.
towards Riley. Riley's on the opposite side of your property from Highway 365, is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
So whenever you leave out this morning, are you going more towards 365 way or more towards Riley Street?
I was heading to Route 365 to begin with,
Why? Why did,
because I had to pull out of my driveway. And there's no way to turn around in there with the boat behind you. So I had went out the front gate where there's more space on the state land where I turn that boat around often. And Mr. Jenkins isn't normally standing out there. Turn that boat around and make it right back out the backside toward right.
this happened pretty early in the morning, right?
9:35, according to,
And usually whenever you do this move and you drive through, Mr. Jenkins is not usually there, right?
right, I just did that.
But he was there this time.
Yes,
And so as you're headed in his direction over towards his land, at what point do you see Mr. Jenkins?
by the time he ran out in front of my truck, he pointed a gun.
So is that about the time that you get over there outside of your property boundary?
Right, a little after I turned to the right.
At some point, you talk with the officers at your property.
Right,
Whenever the officers come out, you're not where you were at the time that this occurred.
right,
You've driven all the way back over.
right.
And about how long did it take you to get back over there on your property?
Half a minute, a minute.
When you get back over there, are you able to identify any information to the officer about where this incident occurred?
Right.
Are you able to identify any information about where this incident occurred?
Don't remember being asked that, but.
Do you remember swearing to?
Yeah, no, okay, okay, he did that. He did it.
He did
I
ask.
told him I was out. I'm from my fence there on state land.
And do you remember signing a sworn statement in this case called a non-consent affidavit?
Or what?
A non-consent affidavit.
Don't remember, I mean,
Do you remember signing any kind of a statement about this case?
none other than the one with my statement.
Your Army approach.
Yes, you may.
I'm going to show you a copy of this non-consent affidavit. I'm going to just ask you, does this refresh your memory that you signed this statement?
Yeah.
Okay. And is all of this on this document your handwriting except for the officer's signature?
No. My wife could fill that out
Okay.
because I have a CMT to where my hands don't, I can barely even write my name.
Okay.
So filling things out, she fills everything out for me.
Did you sign your name?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you read the document?
Yes, sir.
Did you give her the information to fill out on the document?
Yes, sir.
And does that document swear to specific statements about this incident?
Possibly, I don't remember.
I'll read you this here. It says filing a false report with the Port Arthur Police Department is considered a crime. If convicted of the offense, a false report to a police officer, you could be punished with a fine or imprisonment or both.
Right.
Do you understand that?
Mhm.
And whenever you signed this statement, you swore that it was true that you were actually at 344 Highway 365, didn't you?
Okay, yes,
And that's not true, is it?
okay.
Is that not true? Since you've already testified here in this trial, that that's not where you
Well, at the
were?
time I was sitting at 344. So maybe I was a little confused at what it was asking me.
So, when you swore to where this happened, the alleged location of the crime,
Well, it was right in front of 344, Highway 355.
it was not on
Okay,
three
there we go.
forty-four Highway
Well, if we're talking
355.
semantics or words or whatever, I guess you're right.
Well, they really are your words. You had an opportunity to testify before you
Well, I'm
talked.
horrible with words, but yes, sir, you're right. That would have been wrong. There you
That
go.
would have been a false statement.
It looks that way,
Okay.
sounds that way. But I mean, if we're just talking about where I was at, I was in front of Highway 3. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
And Your Honor, I just would like to be tendered whatever he showed, counselor showed the witness, I didn't see it.
Your Honor, at this time I'd offer, defense exhibit 1, which would be the non-consent.
No,
Okay, no objection, defense exhibit number 1 is admitted.
Your Honor, maybe approach.
The hell I'm in. You may proceed.
Thank you. As part of the investigation, did you ever get asked to identify the gun that was claimed to have been the gun that Mr. Jenkins pointed at you?
I can't remember if I did.
Never shown the gun as far as you can remember?
No.
Did you ever offer any information to the officer to describe the gun?
Yeah,
And how did you describe it to the officer?
small revolver, maybe 22.
How did you know that there was a 22, or how did you come to that conclusion?
I didn't. And it looked like a little small 22 pistol.
Okay.
It looked that way.
Could you describe the gun to the jury?
Little black looking pistol.
Was it a short nose?
Yeah.
Not a long nose?
No.
Did you notice it was a revolver?
But
You noticed it was a revolver. Did you notice anything else about the gun that you can recall? And when you went back over onto your property, did you tell the officers where they could go to get the gun?
Or what?
Did you tell the officers where they could go to get the gun?
I had no idea where the gun was pinned on that.
Okay. Had you seen Mr. Jenkins with that gun earlier that day?
You mean, when you pointed it at me?
Before that?
No,
Had you seen Mr. Jenkins out there on his land before that?
no,
So you didn't know he was going to be over there as your testimony.
right.
Now when you were driving over there, you say you never encountered anything to do with this dog and never got close enough to where anything happened with that.
No,
Okay. Did you know that he had his dog out there?
didn't see a dog.
Did you know that the dog was out there at the time that the police went to go retrieve the gun?
Had no idea.
Did you interact with the dog in any way?
No,
You know, Mr. Jenkins works often under a tree over there on his farm, right?
but
Mr. Jenkins will often work under a tree over there on his property. You remember that?
yeah,
And you see him out there pretty regularly when he's out there working on his land under that tree.
normally shows up about me.
And that tree where he works is actually on his land, isn't it?
Believe, yeah,
And that tree is not on state land.
right.
And do you know what Mr. Jenkins was out there doing that morning?
Have no idea.
Does he usually go out there and clean his property up and tend to it?
Good question what he does over there. Good question.
Okay.
I don't know what the man does over there. I don't sit and hang out and watch the guy. I have an 8-foot fence to make sure I don't have to see the man.
And your fence marks the boundary of your property.
That side, yeah.
And
And
inside,
the front side,
and inside the fence that marks the boundary of your property, you have cameras that point off of your
everywhere, yes, sir.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Anybody that comes inside that fenced area is going to be on camera, right?
Right.
And so this incident did not happen inside that fenced area.
No, it was outside, out front,
And there was no video that
on
was
state
available.
land.
And there was no video that was available.
No.
Did you have any video of you pulling your truck back inside your driveway
Sure.
and inside that fence?
The video there of me leaving as well.
So there was video available.
Well, sure there is.
Did you give that to the cops?
Did they ask for it? No.
They swore that there was no video available.
Who said?
The detective, Thompson.
Okay,
Did he ask you about video?
no.
If he'd asked you about video, you could have given the video that showed that you pulled back inside your driveway and it would have showed what you did and where you were coming from, wasn't it?
Sure.
That wouldn't have helped you.
What?
That wouldn't have helped you in this case, would it?
Help who?
It wouldn't have helped you to show your vehicle driving back inside your gate where you had been outside your fence area.
I have no idea. Would it?
It doesn't show that it happened on Highway 365 at 344,
Okay,
right?
all right.
And that video would show that it did not happen at 344 Highway 365, wouldn't it?
I guess, yeah.
It's crucial evidence, isn't it?
I would say
Where is it?
Well, right now, let's see. This is what, a year and how many days later? It would have been deleted a long time ago because my DVR only catches like 2 weeks. So if someone would have asked for it in between that 2 weeks, they probably could have got it, but
The time to have asked for it was at the time of the investigation,
that's what I would say.
and it was not preserved, was it?
No,
Passwords.
Mr. Murphy,
yes, ma'am.
do you remember filling out a witness statement of facts not in custody on the day?
I'll feel that one, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that statement was signed by you,
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
okay? Permission to approach? You recognize this statement?
Yes,
Was this the same statement signed by you titled witness statement on July the 21st, 2022?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, and did you fill that out or did your wife fill it out and you signed it?
My wife would have written it out and I would have signed it.
Is this a direct copy of the original statement? It's a printed copy. Is that a printed copy? Does it look like it's been altered in any way?
No,
Okay, on that statement, it asks, where did you live? And you put 344 Highway 365, Port Arthur, Texas. Right?
right. I'm
So-
sorry, I'm just hard of hearing and you were facing the other way and
I'm
I
sorry.
really
It
can't.
asks, where did you live? And you put 344 Highway 365, Port Arthur, Texas.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so similar to the last statement where they asked for an address, just on this statement, they asked, where did you live?
Right.
I'm gonna offer what has been marked as state exhibit. See, I'm gonna tender to the best for inspection.
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay, no objection, state's exhibit number 2 will be admitted.
Okay. And I want you to just read something for me from this statement. I want you to start here and read down to the end of it, okay?
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
On Thursday, the 21st of July at 9:35 a.m., I, Ricky Lane, along with my son, Joe Bronson, drove out of our driveway toward Highway 365. While on the driveway, a truck pulled into the driveway. I drove the truck to the right to do a U-turn because I had my boat in tow while driving on state land. To do a U-turn, Elton Jenkins runs out in front of my truck with a revolver style handgun and yells, "Stop." I was already stopped. Called 911 to report Jenkins. Then, gunned my truck and pulled left, finishing the U-turn, drove back onto the driveway and onto our property in front of my truck.
All right, and did you read for the court and the jury? Just this statement.
On Thursday, 21st, July 2022. At approximately 9:35 a.m. Witness an incident at 344 Highway 365, Port Arthur, Jefferson County, Texas.
Right, and did you state I live at, that's where it says I live at,
Yes,
and it has your address as what?
344 Highway 365. Port Arthur.
At this time, I need some gloves so I can. Okay, if I will just ensure that the rifle is safe before I have it. It's sealed, the box is sealed. I'm gonna let you break this. Okay, you can break it. Permission to approach you.
You may approach.
Let's show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit B. You recognize what I've just shown you?
Only about the one that pointed at me.
Doesn't look like it, but it was a long time ago. Can you verify if it looks similar to the one that pointed at you?
That is a revolver.
Okay, but it doesn't look exactly like the one that was pointed at you. Okay, all right. And
Which now he was also 10, 15 feet from me.
break the ceilings. Permission to approach.
Yes.
Permission to approach.
Yes.
Did that guy look more like it, or did this guy look like more like it?
That looked a whole lot more like what he pointed at me.
This one does,
I still don't think that would have been it.
but it looks a little bit more like the one that was
But it
pointed.
looks similar, yeah.
Okay.
It's a revolver, I can tell you that.
Okay,
And
and,
that looked a lot bigger than when he pointed at me. The one I pointed at him was a little bitty thing.
Okay.
Bitty short, snow nose looking thing with I swear it had a black handle, but
but out of the two, this one looks a little bit more similar to than the first one.
but it's still not, that's not gun he pointed at me,
Okay,
that I can tell.
okay, and well, you don't know, but you're not aware if this gun has been tampered with or anything in any way?
Do what?
You're not aware if this gun has been tampered with in any way?
I wouldn't have no idea. Never seen you guys before in my life.
Okay, now you wouldn't have recordings of the state highway property,
Yeah.
because your video recording, even if you did have recordings, it didn't go that far, did it?
No, man, there's an 8-foot fence that blocks where I would have been out in front. There's no way you would have seen anything on camera over in that area of what happened.
Okay, and if you're coming down, say I'm coming down the street, down state property, would I pass up Elgin's home, Jenkins' homes first, or your home first?
Okay, on, big thing on my driveway?
Mhm.
You talking about on my
On
driveway?
your driveway. And if you make a right, you're gonna go, if you leave your driveway and make a right, what are you on? You're on state
My
land.
driveway comes straight in from Highway 365
Mhm.
and goes straight past my house out to the road behind me.
Okay,
So it doesn't go anywhere near his property.
so you wouldn't have any reason to go on his property at all?
No.
Pass.
Nothing but the ground.
Okay. May this witness be excused,
Subsidy.
subject to recall.
Same.
Okay, now, Mr. Lane, you are excused, subject to recall. And what that basically means is if the state or the defense need to call you, you need to be available. If they need to recall you. And I think the state still have your number. Now, can he be excused, or do you still need him to wait around in the witness room?
He can be excused, you know.
Okay, you excuse, you're free to go. And remember, you're under the rule. You remember that you're under the rule.
Yes, sir.
So do not talk to anyone about your case. You're free to go and you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir.
At this time, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you can stand and follow You can bring the jury back in. Everyone, please stand while the jury comes into the courtroom. You may be seated. Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session. Clause number M333019. Case of style, the state of Texas versus Elgin Jenkins Jr. Let the record reflect that Mr. Jenkins is present in court with his attorney Brandon Monk. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant District Attorney Erica Porter, and Attorney Andrew Hoover. State, are you ready?
Thanks, Reggie.
Defense, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Attorney Porter, you may call your next witness.
State called Joel Bronson.
Mr. Brunson, please come forward.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Brunson, please raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brunson, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir.
Okay, you may put your hand down. Mr. Brunson, please have a seat in the witness stand,
Sir.
and you could adjust the microphone and the chair. You may proceed.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Joel Bronson.
And where do you reside?
I reside on Highway 365.
It's okay. Take your time. Do
Uh,
you reside at 344 Highway 365?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And who do you live with?
My mom and dad, who are Veranda Lane and Ricky Lane,
And how long have you lived with your mom and dad?
for 18 years.
And how old are you?
18 years old now.
Okay. When's your birthday?
It is June 22nd. First, sorry.
21st. So what do you do for a living, Mr. Bronson?
I work with my dad at running the bait shop.
And so what do you do at the bait shop?
I go out, catch the bait, sell the bait, do whatever basically my dad needs.
All right, and how long have you been working with your dad at the bait shop?
As long as I can remember.
Okay, so we're gonna take you back to July the 21st, 2022, around 9:30 a.m. Where were you?
If I'm not mistaken, that is the time that me and my dad were just about to leave our house to go catch some bait. We're exiting, going towards the highway 365 on our private driveway. And the customer is coming down in a large truck. We pull off to the side of the road in front of our fence. and Mr. Elgin Jenkins here, sir, comes around the corner, right next to our, property line, holding a gun and points it at, I'm assuming my dad, who was in the driver's seat.
Okay, and you said Mr. Elgin Jenkins, do you recognize Elgin Jenkins here today?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay, could you point to Mr. Jenkins and identify him? Tell me something he's wearing.
Elgin Jenkins is wearing a, black tie.
And what kind of color suit does he have? Jacket?
Tan-ish.
All right, let the record reflect, please, Your Honor, that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. You may proceed.
Okay, so you said somebody was coming down the street that day. It could have been a customer that was coming to your bake shop?
Yes, it was a customer coming down our private driveway. from our
Okay.
bake shop.
So the bake shop is located on your property.
Yes,
And what kind of vehicle were you in with your father?
I was in a white truck, larger, Ram,
And who was driving, you said?
my dad.
And were you in the front passenger seat?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you said Mr. Jenkins ran out in front of you guys. Was he on foot or was he in a vehicle?
He was on foot.
Okay. At that time, did you see any dog or anything with him?
I do not remember seeing a dog at all.
Okay, and you said he got in front of the vehicle and your dad's vehicle and pointed a gun at him.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember how that gun looked?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You think you might be able to identify it?
Yes, I would be able to.
Yes,
We'll show you what has been marked as case exhibit B. You recognize this?
Yes, I do.
Does this resemble the gun that you saw on
It-
July the 21st, 2022, that Mr. Elgin Jenkins had?
I believe so.
Right, do you know if it's been tampered with in any way?
Not that I can tell.
Okay, so did Mr. Jenkins come up to your vehicle and say anything that you're aware of?
No, not that I'm aware of. He stayed about as far from me to that wall over there.
And were your windows on your side up at the entire time that you remember?
I cannot remember. I'm sorry.
Do you remember you saying anything to Mr. Jenkins on that day?
No, sir. No, I'm sorry.
All right, do you remember any dog coming towards your vehicle that day?
Not at all.
Now, did you call 911 or did your dad call 911?
That would have been my father. Or I think he called my mother and my mother called one of the two. I can't remember.
Okay, so were you able to speak to an officer that day about what happened?
Yes.
And did this incident shake you up when you saw that gun pointed at your father?
I was in fear for my father's life. Yes, ma'am.
So you said your father had to zoom back around to try to avoid being shot, is that right? And get away from Mr. Jenkins?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so when he went in the opposite direction, did he back up?
No. We did a full U-turn to get back onto our driveway.
Okay, and once you were back on your driveway, did you proceed to go straight out? Or did he stop at his property and wait for a little while?
We stopped at our property now.
Okay, and was he towing anything at the time?
I believe we had our boat with us. I do not remember for certain.
Okay, so
okay. Mr. Monk?
Yes, sure. And you've actually pulled a gun on Mr. Jenkins, haven't you?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
You did get a charge for pulling a BB gun on him, didn't you?
I have not.
Have you ever had the law talk to you about showing a gun
Yes, I have. I have shot BB gun at my house, yes.
and you've actually brandished that gun in the direction of Mr. Jenkins?
beyond relevance objection.
It's really
Objection, go down.
relevant self-defense, Your Honor. State of mind of the defendant as we have guy come over onto his property. He's pulled a gun on him before that's relevant for self-defense.
Okay, objections overruled.
So the truth is you have pulled a gun on Mr. Jenkins, haven't you?
No,
You've showed a gun to him.
I have not intentionally showed him any of my weaponry or brandished any weapons at him.
You had a gun. Law enforcement investigated that you had showed that gun in the direction of Mr. Jenkins, didn't they?
I have not.
You had a report where you had a BB gun and they came out and investigated that, didn't they?
Yes.
And that BB gun was pointed in the direction of Mr. Jenkins, wasn't it?
No, it was not.
And that's what law enforcement talked to you about, is to stop pointing that gun in the direction of Mr. Jenkins, didn't they?
Yes, even though I have not pointed any weapons of any sort at Mr. Jenkins.
Law enforcement thought that you hadn't asked you to stop, didn't they?
Yes,
Did you tell Officer Broussard that your dad gunned his truck? Gunned it?
oh, as in hit the gas?
Yes, sir.
Yes, he did.
And your dad did gun it, didn't he?
Yes, he gunned it to get away from Mr. Jenkins, sir.
And when you say he gunned it, your testimony is not that he gunned it in reverse.
No,
Your testimony is that he gunned it forward,
he gunned it to do a U-turn to get away from Mr. Jenkins.
gunned it forward in order to first go in the direction of Mr. Jenkins before he turned his vehicle around. Is that fair?
No, he turned it as we were going forward. We did not go straight forward towards Mr. Jenkins. We
So
were
he-
turning instantly.
He gunned it and turned it at the same time?
Yes,
So gunning it and turning it, those actions would have happened almost simultaneously.
yes,
And that gunning it would have been with the engine pointed mostly at that time in the direction of Mr. Jenkins, aside from what turn had made.
yes, we instantly turned.
Whenever you were gunning it, at that time, you did not have a boat.
I do not remember for certain, sir.
The boat was hooked up later on, wasn't it?
Like I said, I do not remember, sir.
So you can't testify one way or another whether that boat was hooked up at the time this occurred.
No, I cannot.
Did you ever identify the gun, with law enforcement?
No, I have not.
And so the first time that you've ever been asked to identify the gun by anyone, was today in court.
Yes,
And is that the first time that you've ever seen the alleged gun?
yes,
And you didn't really get a good look at it the day of the incident, did you?
I got a not really great look, but I got a pretty good look.
Could you distinguish it between another gun that maybe had a shorter barrel or a longer barrel?
I believe I could.
And how would you be able to do that?
Well, to be honest, it's burned in my memory.
Okay, and what description of the gun is burned in your memory?
A relatively small frame revolver caliber. I don't know the caliber. It is an older handgun that is a revolver, and it had a medium length barrel.
At no point were there any shots fired, right?
No, there was not.
And when y'all made it back over onto your property, did you make it back over there without Mr. Jenkins stopping you?
He attempted to run in front of our truck yet again when we were turning.
So your testimony is that he attempted to run after you made the U-turn,
Yes,
that Mr. Jenkins then went back in front of the vehicle?
he attempted to. My dad had, well, we were in a truck going pretty fast on dirt. He could not get in front of our truck again. He attempted to though.
So was that while the engine was still revving and being gunned?
Yes,
And so while the engine was being revved and gunned, again, a second time, the vehicle made its way in the direction of Mr. Jenkins.
no, he stayed on the side of it. He did not get in front of it. He attempted to though.
Okay. What did he do when you say that he attempted to?
He was running on the side of our truck trying to get in front of it.
Whenever he was running beside it, was he over there close to that tree on his property?
I cannot remember, but I'm pretty sure he was past the tree.
Right by that tree in that area.
Yes, somewhere in there.
And that tree is clearly on Mr. Jenkins' land, isn't it?
No, it is not. The one I am referring to is on state land.
So the tree that Mr. Jenkins usually works under, Whenever you see him out there on his property, are we talking about the same tree?
No, we are not. Okay. That tree, I do not know where he was before that. I did not know where he was before he came around the corner.
You don't know where he was before the engine was gunned or revved.
Oh, he was right in front of our truck when the engine was revved.
Okay. He was right in front of the truck whenever the engine was revved
Yes,
and his direction.
yes, even though we were turning.
So if Mr. Jenkins had not been there, you would have driven on through, not on the highway.
We would have driven on the highway. We would have waited for said vehicle to pass by and we would have gotten back on our driveway.
How did you make it so far over there outside of your fence?
We were not past our fence. We were directly in front of our fence.
You were beyond the fence and outside of the fence and beyond the boundary, at least onto the state property, weren't you?
Oh, yes, we were past our fence and we noticed another vehicle coming down our driveway. So we pulled off in front of our driveway to let the other vehicle go by.
And then whenever you pulled over in the direction of Mr. Jenkins, the direction of that tree where he usually works, you also went beyond the fence there, didn't you?
We did not go beyond the fence, no.
So your testimony is that you stayed there on your land and did not go into state property.
No, we went in, state property. I'm sorry, I'm thinking you're asking if we're going past like the corner of our fence. No, we went on state property, but we did not go past our corner over there, like. I'm trying to explain this, I'm sorry. We did not go past. How do I put that? We stayed in front of our property, we did not go in front of his property. That is what I'm trying to say, I'm sorry.
And so your testimony is the entire time y'all were on 344 Highway 365.
No, we went in front of our property, I don't know if that's still 344, I do not know. We went in front of it onto state line, we did,
Now, you're traveling on state land
yes.
is not permitted. Isn't that true?
I do not know the law fully, no, sir, I do not know,
Haven't you been told don't go through that state land area?
yes.
Who told you that?
I do not remember, I believe it was, my parent told me, I don't know who told her. It was my mom.
Yeah, so y'all been told don't go on that state land,
We try not to.
but you did in this case.
We had no other choice, otherwise we would have ran into another vehicle.
Absolutely.
Ms. Porter?
Did you pick Mr. Jenkins up physically and place him in front of your vehicle?
No,
So how did Mr. Jenkins get in front of your truck?
he ran in front of our truck.
Oh, so he made the conscious decision to walk in front of you.
Yes,
Okay, so you didn't carry him in front of
no,
your truck.
we did nothing for him to get in front of our vehicle in any way.
Okay, and you had to avoid hitting him, correct?
Yes,
So you made a U-turn.
to make sure we didn't hit him or any other obstacles in our way.
Now, on that day, 7/21/2023, were any weapons found in your vehicle? Any guns? Did the officers take any guns or anything from your vehicle?
No, they have not taken any weapons from our vehicle.
Okay, and state land. So a lot of talk in this case
Yes.
about state land. Now, state land does not belong to Mr. Jenkins, does it?
No, it does not.
It belongs to who?
The state.
Correct. Okay, so let me ask you this. Have you had any charges placed against you by any county, Jefferson County or any county for pointing a gun at Mr. Jenkins?
None that I can recall.
Pass the witness.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Such as we call.
Okay, now, before you step down from the witness stand, the rule has been invoked, and what that means is you are ordered to leave the courtroom and not re-enter unless instructed to do so by the bailiff or me. You are not to discuss this case or your testimony with any other witnesses or anyone else except your attorneys. You are not to read any reports or comment on the testimony or evidence in this case. And I should also add, you should not look at YouTube, televisions, or anything of that nature about the case.
Yes, sir.
Also, now, if you violate this rule or these instructions, you can be held in contempt of court. And being held in contempt of court entails that you can be placed in a county jail for up to 180 days, and you could be given a fine up to $500. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you excuse, if any of the attorneys need you, just kind of stay available. You can go home and the state have your contact information. You're free to go and you have a blessed day.
You too, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Ms. Porter, can I call you next witness?
State House Officer Broussard.
Officer Broussard. Okay. Officer Broussard, would you please raise your right hand? Officer Broussard, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, Officer Broussard, you can take the witness stand and you can adjust the mic and the chair. Ms. Porter, the witness is yours.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Brian Broussard.
Okay, Mr. Broussard, how are you presently employed?
I'm a police officer at the city of Port Arthur.
Are you a certified peace officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how long have you been a peace officer with City of Port Arthur?
34 years.
And what are your duties in your present position?
Currently, I patrol, I have day shift patrol. I'm also a field training officer for new officers.
Okay, could you explain to the jury your educational background?
I have a high school diploma. I went to Stephen F. Austin, graduated in 1984, and then I joined the police department in 1989, went to Lamar's Regional Police Academy, and I have continued education through Lamar.
Okay. And have you worked for any other police department besides Port Arthur?
No,
Okay. And on July the 21st, 2022, were you working for Port Arthur Police Department?
yes, ma'am, I was.
Okay, so what shift were you working?
Day shift.
And did you have a partner with you at that time? Or it was just you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what area were you zoned to patrol?
We call it District 1, but it's the 4 acres area.
Okay, and how long are your shifts typically?
10 hours.
And when did you start your shift that day?
6:30 in the morning.
Did you receive a call around 9:35-ish that morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that call send you to a particular address?
Yes.
And what address was that?
I believe it was 344, 365. I believe that's the address.
And why were you sent there?
It was a disturbance between two businesses that have long-standing disturbances.
Okay, and can you recognize one individual that was involved in that disturbance today, Elgin Jenkins?
Yes, Mr. Jenkins sitting right
Could you point to him and identify him? Just tell me an item of clothing that he has.
there. Oh, here's Mr. Elgin Jenkins. He's wearing a suit with a tie.
Okay, what color, please?
Kind of a grayish color.
Okay, and with the record reflect, Your Honor, that the witness has identified the defendant, Elgin Jenkins.
Well, I got two guys with gray.
Okay, well, what, does he have a handkerchief in his? Can you
Yes,
say
and
something?
he's wearing a thin black tie.
Okay.
Okay.
And he has a goatee. And I know Mr. Jenkins well.
Did the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
The record show will so reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Eldon Jenkins.
Okay, and what kind of disturbance was Mr. Jenkins involved in on the 21st of July?
It was reported that he had pulled a gun on Ricky Lane.
Okay, and Ricky Lane is who? Is he a neighbor of Mr.
He
Jenkins?
owns Buck in a Bucket. which is next door. It's
Okay.
the business directly to the west on 365.
Now, who owns the property right in front, like is that
State of
state
Texas
property?
does.
State of
Yes,
Texas. Okay, so where does the state of Texas property stop and Luckett and Bucket property start?
Their property starts at the highway easement, goes back 80 feet if you're going south. And it goes from Wilson Avenue to Texas Avenue if you're going from east to west.
Now, state property, is that property that no one is supposed to drive on?
That question I can't answer, however, it is owned by the state of Texas, but both those gentlemen have an ingress egress agreement from the state to enter their property.
So they can use that property to enter their property.
Yes.
Okay, and the defendant's property, Elder Jenkins, where is it in reference to the state property?
It's set back 80 feet from 365 and it goes all the way to Raleigh
So it's 80 feet away from
from the highway.
the highway.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's pretty far away from the house.
Yes.
Okay, all right, and let's see. Now, when you arrived on the scene, did you speak to Mr. Jenkins or you spoke to?
No, I spoke to Mr. Lane first.
Okay, and did you get statements from Mr. Lane and his son?
At the beginning of it, no, I got a verbal statement. They were still sitting in their truck and Mr. Lane advised me that he pulled out to go do his mud minnows. They do mud minnows in Sabine Path. And he turned onto the state's property to make a U-turn and Mr. Jenkins began running at him with a small old style revolver and pointing it at him.
Okay, permission to approach.
Yes,
Let me show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit E. Now, this is your video recordings. Do you recognize this?
I watched it the other day, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you watched it. Are you able to identify all the voices and individuals on this recording? Was this taken with something that you operated?
Body cam
Okay, your body camera.
and ink art camera.
Are you competent to operate that body camera?
Yes,
Okay, and have you altered it in any way?
no, ma'am, do not have those capabilities.
State offers what has been marked as Exhibit E. I'm gonna tender it to the bench for inspection.
May we approach Sharon?
yes, so on a minute.
before today.
You may be seated. Let the record reflect the court is back in session at clause number 333-019, case of style of state of Texas versus Elgin Jenkins Jr. Let the record also reflect that Mr. Jenkins is present in court with his attorney, Attorney Brandon Monk. State is present with Assistant District Attorneys, Attorney Erica Porter and Attorney Andrew Hubel. Let the record also reflect that the jury is back in the courtroom. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there's another matter that has come up, and so we're gonna have to break for the evening. And how long is the record? Okay, I'm just, oh yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're gonna be in recess until tomorrow. We're gonna ask that the jury that you will come back at 11 o'clock on tomorrow morning. Okay, we have a docket in the morning, starts at 9, and we're gonna we'll finish that up before 11. So we need you back tomorrow at 11. Everyone, please stand as the jury exit the courtroom. Make sure that you turn in your badges with the bailiff. Officer Broussard, you may be excused. Back for 11 o'clock.